Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, our guest this week is PSC Commissioner Jeremy Oden, Republican from Coleman. Also, the V team takes a look at public corruption in Houston County. And Speaker Mike Hubbard's holding a big pricey fundraiser. Good politics or just another shakedown? This and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we ask the tough questions so you have the hard answers. My name is Bill Britt. I'm your host, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Merry Christmas, all.
Merry Christmas.
Bill.
Great time of year for us. Lots going on in politics. Just this week, Attorney General Luther Strange down in Houston County arrested a former commissioner on ethics violations. Felony ethics violations. What does that mean?
That's correct. The Attorney General's office procured a 2-count indictment against Bobby Snellgrove, who's a former Houston County Commissioner who left office in November of 2010 for allegedly using his office for personal gain for a business that his children or his family was associated with. The first count alleged approximately $214,000 worth of gain. The second count alleged approximately $6,000 in gain.
Now, this is tied to Country Crossing, is that correct?
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because, you know, this is a state indictment. Of course, they had a federal grand jury, and all the individuals except for the 2 that, you know, confessed and said we're guilty, everybody else got off. And here we are, what, a year and a half later, and the state does indict someone. Very small, though.
Yeah, Matt Hart and Mike Duffy handled this special grand jury in Houston County for the Attorney General's office, and at least according to the published reports, it was first impaneled back in September of 2012.
Is this a foreshadowing of things to come?
I think it could be. One of the interesting things is one of the counts is quite large, like you said, almost $250,000. The other one was only $6,000.
Right.
I mean, I remember when they were talking about Mike Hubbard earlier, and they said, well, he ran all this money through majority strategy. He said, oh, at most I made $9,000. Well, it's more than 6. You know, this guy was indicted for 6.
Here's another interesting fact, too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell you this real quick, is that all of the current and former Houston County Commissioners were invited to testify before the grand jury. And Mr. Snellgrove was the only commissioner who actually testified before the grand jury, based on my information. So it is kind of interesting that he was the only one to be indicted. I also find it very interesting that he was indicted on the same day that the Porch Band of Creek Indians opened their new facility down in Wetumpka.
Well,
So there's a little coincidence there.
Minor coincidence. I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
Minor coincidence. Well,
noting.
you know, the Porch Creek had a big opening, and that's been a controversy. We were talking with the governor, and the governor was asked, was that going to be a good for economic development? He said, well, it'll make some jobs and it'll bring in some money. Is it good for the community? I'm not real sure. But still, they're there and they're not going away. But this corruption thing, you know, we've dealt with this for a year. As a matter of fact, we just have the year anniversary of when we first reported that there was an investigation into Mike Hubbard. So,
And it's the same prosecutor who is working on both of those special grand juries, Matt Hart, Mike Duffy, those guys with the Special Prosecutions Division.
So they've been extremely busy for the last couple of years.
They have been, and there have been a lot of rumors this week. The rumor mill was in overdrive this week as to what's going on in Lee County. Apparently Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, at least they were over there. People seen coming and going from the courthouse all week. So something's shaking, and they've been over there a long time.
It's not going to make for a Merry Christmas for many people.
well, that's what we're hearing, but if they don't get something done before sessions start, they can't do anything until April. Is that correct?
I don't know about that.
No?
No.
Yeah, that's
what
the
we've
rumor,
heard.
but I don't know that that's an accurate reading.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that they couldn't arrest anyone or anything like that during
Not for small misdemeanor
session.
things. I think if you go read the actual section there, felonies are exempted from that that ban.
I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Well, another interesting thing that's come up this week, we found out, we reported at AO Reporter, is that Bob Riley has partnered with a gentleman down in Florida by the name of John Kirtley to start what's called a scholarship granting organization. Now, what those do, under the Accountability Act, these organizations can solicit money from corporations and individuals, bring it into their 501c3s, and then take a 5% profit off the top for administering these fees. This man Kirkley down in Florida has made $6.3 million last year managing that fund. Bob Riley has got the big one coming into Alabama. What do you think? Anybody?
Well, you know, if you're going to have an organization dole out scholarships and it's going to be private, somebody's going to have to manage it, right? And if you're going to manage it, somebody has to make money off of it, or there's no incentive to manage it. And so that part doesn't surprise me. I think the former governor getting involved may raise a few eyebrows, the way this thing was kind of passed in the middle of the night, and a lot of people didn't even know this was a part of the bill. Most people hadn't even read the bill by the time they voted on it, frankly.
Do you think it's justifiable to make $6 million in the name of helping poor children get a better education? I mean, well, seriously, that's a lot of money.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, and truly this is my personal opinion. It is not the opinion of any firm or client or anything like that of mine. The Accountability Act is a bad idea. You've got this loophole that very few people know anything about. They certainly didn't know about it whenever the bill was slipped in during the legislative session and it was passed. But you have families who, $7,500, that's the cap on the credit. You have to have a middle-class family. And we're not talking about Elizabeth Warren's ragged edge of the middle class, but you've got to have the $7,500 to be able to put towards that child's tuition before you can ever get the tax credit after the end of the year. And so it really doesn't help the extremely low-income folks that at least it was touted to be serving.
You know, and even back to all this, you know, when it was announced, the former governor was very involved in it with a lot of his close connections, and then got people that ran for governor unsuccessfully and some of the current leadership, and it was always out there. There was that underground momentum that they all had something to gain from this financially, and so it just appears that is in fact the case.
But Robert Bentley was never for charter schools until this Accountability Act came up. He wasn't really big on that. Is that correct?
And even after he signed it into law, the second time it came up, he vetoed that and tried to put some executive amendments on there and things like that. So he's sort of been back and forth on this. I think he saw the polling numbers and the different things that said it wasn't the greatest thing. I think the winning message for Republicans on this is this thing was passed in the exact same fashion Obamacare was passed. Rammed through over any debate, middle of the night. Nobody's allowed to read the bill until it passes. And to me, the Alabama Republicans should be ashamed of themselves for participating in that. There were a good number of them that didn't, but enough of them did that it's going to be a black stain come election time, I think.
And I think he's right. You know, charter schools accountability, I think there's a place for them, but there again, the same way that it happened. And I think back to Dr. Bentley, I think a signal of something we saw and talked about. He received a campaign contribution, I think, from Students First or something, and returned it back. So,
well, it's going to be interesting to see if anything's done about it. I tend to doubt anything will occur. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with Commissioner Jeremy Oden of the Public Service Commission. See you right back.
$20. It won't buy much in the way of Christmas cheer. Yet it means plenty of hope for the homeless. Your $20 feeds 10 at the Jimmy Hale Mission. The more you give, the more we feed. Help us nurture those with nothing else and show them the true spirit of the season. To give, please call 323-5878 or visit jimmyhalemission.com today.
I teach. I touch the future. I am AEA.
I keep the school clean every day for your children. I am AEA.
Congratulations on your scholarship. I help children make choices for college and careers. I am AEA.
We are AEA.
Welcome back to the Voice of Alabama Politics. We're joined today with our guest, Public Service Commissioner, Mr. Jeremy Oden. Mr. Oden?
Bill, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Great to see you. Merry Christmas.
Good. Merry Christmas. I think we're right on it, are we not?
We are, and I hope it's going to be a happy one for you and your family.
Yes. My child's 6.5, and we are ready, I think. So
that's
it'll be great. So
that's one of the best ages.
Oh, yes, it is. And she's been going, so.
Great. Well, you've been in the legislature since 1998, is that right?
That's correct.
So you know the ropes, but you helped Dr. Bentley get started with the legislators, and you all worked together a lot, and then now you've moved on to the Public Service Commission.
Correct.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background and also about the Public Service Commission, what y'all do?
Sure, Bill. First, let me just sort of touch on who I am. I come from North Alabama, a little area called Eva, Alabama. It's in the Coleman County side.
Right.
So I've come from a little farm up there, and we do cattle and some other things on that line. And of course, my family has been in small business for many, many years. So we were in construction, and at the first part, my dad was one of the big construction guys in that area. And then my mom owns a small little florist, a little country florist. So, in which she still operates. She still gets up every morning and goes to that. But that's pretty well where I was at. And when I came in to politics was actually in 1993. I ran for the state house. I didn't win that race, but in 98 I won from District 11, which represented Coleman, Morgan, and Blount counties. Was there up until last December, a year ago, and Governor Bentley asked me to fill the position that was vacated by Twinkle Kavanaugh, who moved into the president's position at the PSC. So that's a little bit about who I am. North Alabama guy, small farm, come in, to Montgomery for the house side, and then got the appointment to the PSC.
The PSC is really an important agency, but a lot of people don't have any idea what you guys do.
That was one of the first things I discovered going over there. As a legislator, we sat and, you heard about the Public Service Commission, but really you didn't know what all they did and what their basic job stuff was. You always heard about Jim Sullivan or Lucy or any of those that may have served at the PSC, but you really didn't know what they did. And so when I went in, the first thing we did was really and truthfully to understand what the office actually does for the citizens of Alabama. And to do a quick summary, I will real quick, Bill, and that is we basically, the first thing we do is we monitor and regulate the 3 large utility companies. They are monopolistic, and so with that setup, we and the country say that they can have that monopoly, but they must be regulated in that. And so the main things we do is make sure they're functioning correctly. We make sure that the rates are in consumers' best interests, and we make sure that the power or the gas is reliable and there for the consumer. So that's some of that is very general, what I just said. There's a lot of stuff that goes in just to that process of the PSC. And so this past year, of course, I think we've been on the headlines weekly considering the rates and considering the things in which we as consumers and also the company has to do. But we're more than that. And I think through the process of people seeing the PSC in the public eye lately, it's a good opportunity to come back around and see what are the other things we do. We also regulate the pipeline safety. That's one big issue we do. We don't necessarily say where those pipelines can go. That's not our power. But once they're in the ground, we monitor the safety of that aspect. That's a huge thing for citizens of the state. And that's one thing, you can look at and see that is an important role. We've got to have that group. We've got to have that individuals that are monitoring that situation. The other is that we are also still over the railroads. That's how we were established. In the late 1800s, we were the Railroad Commission. And so we monitor the safety aspect of the rails themselves. So we go in there and make sure that the rails are safe for travel and transport of goods and people. So we do that on a daily basis. We have people on the railroad situation all the time. So the other thing is if they may be small monopolies like wastewater or water facilities across the state that has nobody else serving them, we also monitor them and also look at their rates. So we're a little bit larger than just monitoring the three big companies. We do a lot of different work. We also look at energy efficiency and some of the broader things we do. And I think a lot of people in the state are realizing this. We actually are the energy, I guess, research group. We know what the energy mix is. We know for the state the efficiency of the energy, and that's some of the stuff I'm trying to get done in the state as well.
Well, and that helps. I think that'll help people understand. We've got about 2 minutes. One of the headlines that we hear and see recently is the war on coal. Is there a war on coal with the Obama administration?
I would say yes, there is, and simply because of what we've been through this past year. I really have considerations on the EPA and what they're doing. This is one of the departments of the federal government that I feel personally has just overreached their bounds. They are actually going in and attacking the state's rights on production of energy and stuff like this. And one of that aspect is coal. Our country, and this is something I know and I've studied in the last year very well, we have to have the coal mix in our energy production. At this point, there's no way of replacing it fully with solar. There's no way of replacing it fully with wind. So to keep that cost down and that reliability, we have to have coal in the mix.
Well, I know it's popping up on the headlines. I know that the Obama administration is really looking to even do some more things where they're going to pass regulations by executive order. Most people in Alabama don't like that kind of thing.
And Bill, I would say that's the most scariest aspect of this administration is what they're doing through executive order and through departments.
Well, we got about 30 seconds. What's your wish for Christmas?
Listen, I just want everyone to be happy, and we're ready to go with my family and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and always enjoy the reason for the season.
We do too, and thank you for joining us. You're doing a good job, and we hope you continue to do it. Thank you very much. Our guest today has been Commissioner Jeremy Oden, Republican from Coleman, from the Public Service Commission. You're watching The V. We'll be right back.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
I make sure to get your kids to school and home safe every day. I am AEA.
I make sure your child receives a healthy meal each day. I am AEA.
Thank you, AEA, for protecting our public schools and our futures. We are AEA.
$20. It won't buy much in the way of Christmas cheer. Yet it means plenty of hope for the homeless. Your $20 feeds 10 at the Jimmy Hale Mission. The more you give, the more we feed. Help us nurture those with nothing else and show them the true spirit of the season. To give, please call 323-5878 or visit jimmyhalemission.com today.
Welcome back to the Voice of Alabama Politics. Our guest today, Jeremy Oden, he's had an interesting career, and I guess he's very personal friends with Dr. Bentley, and some interesting things that got me was this war on coal deal. You know, we hear a lot about it. Is it real? Is it not? Environmentalists say we don't need coal. What's your thought on that?
Well, I think if Obama had his way, we wouldn't use any coal anywhere in the United States, and I think that's just a reality. And you know, Commissioner Oden articulated that reality. To what extent it is active and you know, taking place in the state of Alabama, I think is up for some debate. But I do think it's prudent to be on guard, since we are a coal-producing state, and to be aware that this sentiment is out there from the federal government, and to protect an industry, frankly, that provides a great living for a great number of Alabamians.
And we've seen several coal plants in North Alabama have to be closed by the TVA.
Right. And you've seen there's been a tremendous media campaign and a lot of direct mail and a lot of that going on across the entire state as far as saving jobs and saving the coal industry.
With 5,000 plus jobs, right?
It's big in Alabama. Of course, and Drummond Coal has been a tremendous asset for this entire state.
Well, you know, he seemed very passionate about it, and we wish him well in his election.
And one of the things that Commissioner Oden and I talked about off the set with a gentleman actually from the Southern Poverty Law Center was this, this issue that has come up with prisoner phone calls. That's something that folks may not know that the PSC regulates are the phone industry, particularly prison phone calls, where the connection fee right now for a prisoner to call their family is $25 for the connection, and then a different charge for each additional minute. Wow. And so when you're talking about folks who are low income, who have families, and they can't talk to their mamas or their children, that's certainly an issue that I'm glad to see that the PSC has taken an interest in and is supposed to be doing some new regulations for after the first of the year.
Why is it so high?
They're making it, this third-party administrator is making a small fortune off of these phone calls.
Like she mentioned, this has been going on for a long time. When I served in one of the governor's administrations, I recall one of the companies getting into a lot of trouble over this, but it's exorbitant. And I think that they take advantage of people that are in dire straits and in a situation where they, of course, want to talk to their parents or their mother or their children or loved ones, and something needs to be done. I think they need to be regulated.
Interesting. We're going to have to move to the next topic, which is Harri Anne Smith got some good news this week. A poll came out showing that she's highly favored. She's our only independent state senator. Barron, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I heard when they were down there recruiting, they were trying to find somebody to run against her.
Right.
And I think the last guy that ran against her was last name Flowers, which is an incredible surname down in the Dothan area. Spent almost $2 million and got hammered.
And might I add that she was under an indictment during that time.
Yeah, she had just been indicted about 6 weeks before the election or less.
And kicked out of the party.
And kicked out of the Republican Party. And so I think you take all this, they had a tremendous time even finding a single candidate willing to run against her.
I mean, I'm not from the Wiregrass, but close to it. I understand they heavily recruited 5 candidates, and 4 of them told them no, the party and leadership.
Well, she looks like a shoo-in according to that polling. So that's,
well, you know,
good.
I mean, I think some of us have known her, and I must say I've known Harri Anne for a very long time. And there's one thing you can say about Harri Anne Smith. She is going to take care of her constituents. She is active in that community, and people love her.
And that is my community, and she's very popular. Her family's very popular in that area, so she's certainly a force to be reckoned with.
We got about a minute left. I want to talk about one of our topics that we get to almost every week. Speaker of the House Mike Hubbard's got a pricey fundraiser 4 days before 2014 session. If you want to be a host, you got to cough up 10 grand. You got a check? Because I can't
I don't have a $10,000 check. Building off of that, though, he's in campaign finance mode right now. He had a guy from the 2014 PAC actually down in his office in Auburn making telephone calls this week, fundraising telephone calls out of his office. I mean, they are in total scramble mode trying to get this guy up to the amount of money he promised people he would have. They don't have it.
I think that's correct. They don't have the money they've promised and what they've been telling everybody. But yes, I did personally receive an invitation via email for this exorbitant fundraiser in January, I think the 9th.
Isn't it a little weird having a big, pricey fundraiser 4 days before the legislative session? I mean, really?
Traditionally, they'll do it like for the caucus, but this is for him personally. This is not for the House Republican caucus or their foundation.
Lots of interesting things going on. You're watching The V. Come right back. We've got some of our very, very special guests. thank you for watching the V this year. We know that, like us, some of you will be looking to a manger and something that happened marvelous years and years ago. Others will look at the wonders of this life we have. All of us should take advantage of our time with our family. And that's what we wanted to do today, to introduce you to the members of the V family. First off is Lee Hedgepath and his wife, Tila. Next, we have Claire Austin and her lovely family.
Thank you. This is Hannah, my oldest, Will, and Virginia.
And Baron Coleman.
It's my lovely wife, Jessica. This is Reagan, Pearson, Clara, Owen, and number 5 snuck in here on the way.
Shalana.
I have my daughters, Elizabeth and Ann Vivian.
And Brandon.
This is my mother, Georgianne.
And this is my lovely wife of 26 years. And we can't forget about our crew. Without them, none of this would be possible. We want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas.
Hey, Mom. I got the job.
You've got the job. Welcome aboard.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Donate to Goodwill. Help provide job training in your community.
$20. It won't buy much in the way of Christmas cheer. Yet it means plenty of hope for the homeless. Your $20 feeds 10 at the Jimmy Hale Mission. The more you give, the more we feed. Help us nurture those with nothing else and show them the true spirit of the season. To give, please call 323-5878 or visit jimmyhalemission.com today.